Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to another 80s Monday with a film I know I had seen way back in the day, but I had pretty much no memory of. So I figured it was time for a revisit, which is for the 1983 film Twilight Zone, the movie, starring a really stacked cast for the time, which includes, but is not limited to, Dan Aykroyd, Albert Brooks, as well as, this is an anthology, so some of these are just some quick moments in there, but we've also got John Larroquette, Scatman Crothers, Priscilla Pointer, Kathleen Quinlan, Nancy Cartwright, Dick Miller, and John Lithgow, just to name a few. There are a lot of other recognizable faces from people from the time that kind of pop up in this one. But what is this one about? Well, the synopsis is as follows. 4 horror and science fiction segments directed by 4 famous directors, each of them being a new version of a classic story from Rod Serling's landmark television series. So those directors being Joe Dante, John Landis, George Miller, and Steven Spielberg. And yes, this is based off the television series, which originally ran from 1959 to 1964 and has been rebooted a few times, including the most recent iteration on Paramount Plus by Jordan Peele, which sadly has been removed from the service. Don't even get me started again on citing yet another reason why streaming, though very convenient. There are times that I just don't trust it. Anyways, like I said, I'd seen this one way back, but I pretty much only remembered one segment with any deal of detail at all. But there are 4 segments, each one based off of some previous work, though I was only familiar with one of the previous works. Anyways, first one being about this bigot blaming Jewish people for taking his money, African Americans for taking his jobs, people of Asian descent for just existing in America and all, since he fought in the Korean War and so on. He complains very loudly and in a very cringy way, just really throwing some slurs out, which even in morality plays such as this, these days we would likely refrain from even saying some of these words, but that's kind of the point, to show just how bad he is. His story deals with kind of being transported into situations of oppression regarding these groups of people that he's, holding all this hatred for, to kind of live in their shoes. Then we get another segment about a retirement home, dealing with why people age in a way, like how to stay young and if they would want to. And it's also this idea of, do we stop playing because we grow old, or do we grow old because we stop playing? And what would it be like to be a kid again? It's a bit heartwarming, and this segment, which has Scatman Crothers in it, who's kind of like the voice of everywhere when I was a kid because of his involvement with Hanna-Barbera. And then third up, we've got a situation where there's this kid who kind of gets everything that he wants. He can just wish everything into existence in a way. I won't go into too much detail in case you haven't seen this one yet, because it does have some cool twist in it. But let's just say it has to do with when somebody's able to get whatever they want in life, how does it affect other people? And this idea of, would it, seem kind of great as a kid to pretty much have everything that you want, but in reality, not so much. And finally, the remake that I do remember, which was of an episode who many who haven't actually seen the show or this film may be at least aware of, because it's kind of popular in pop culture and has been parodied a lot, with this Gremlin episode with William Shatner, remade into a segment for this, which stars John Lithgow. But in case you haven't heard about this one, it involves a man on a plane who's afraid of flying. He's looking out his window and swears that he sees a creature on the wing wreaking havoc with the engine. He has this major panic attack, trying to get others to believe what he is seeing out there, that there's something very wrong happening. Now, as for Dan Aykroyd and Albert Brooks, their segment is simply an introduction to kind of let you know what kind of film to be prepared for, like an opening segment to usher you into those opening credits. And upon revisiting this one, the only segment that I really remembered well was the Scatman Crothers one about the elderly people playing and kind of regaining some youth. I didn't remember enough to go beat by beat, just kind of like the general idea, and I really did enjoy this one, as it's kind of like the sweet entry in this film. Kind of like how San Junipero in Black Mirror, that nicer one which doesn't really, end in like a freak out or end in a really dark, downer kind of way. It felt almost like watching an episode of the 80s version of Amazing Stories. But all these stories were really a lot of fun, and as I've said several times before, I do love anthologies. I love these little treats, these little snack-sized stories kind of thrown together, mixing things up a bit throughout, both in story and in tone. And this one really does do that very well, I think, because each story is pretty distinct from the others. which is how the episodes of the show, both the original and the Peel version, as well as what I remember from other iterations, had always been. So in a way, it felt kind of like binging 4 episodes and an introduction in a row to kind of make up this entire movie. There's also something strange about this entire look and feel, that, and even like the sound, that I felt it was like highly nostalgic for some reason, which is kind of strange because I don't have enough memories about this film in particular, so I can't really put my finger on exactly what it was. But it definitely gave me this real nostalgic feel that somehow it really just kind of screamed 1983. Maybe it's because, you know, it had some frights and shocks, but nothing over the top. Some jumps, some kind of scary moments, but nothing that couldn't be shown on TV at the time. Almost like it was a TV movie. I guess the best I could describe it would be similar to the film Cloak and Dagger, which I did a video for a few months back, and I'll link to at the end. And actually, a little girl from Cloak and Dagger was in this Gremlin segment. You know, something about it that seemed like maybe it was more like TV movie level entertainment or something. Anyways, but overall, this one really was a good one to revisit. You know, it's light, has a couple of frights, interesting with some cool takes and twists, morality tales thrown in, especially in that first segment, but throughout, nothing was too heavy-handed. It's good for the kids as it's only rated PG, but those slurs may stick out a little bit differently. And if you enjoy anthologies, both film and shows, and especially if you enjoyed the original show, later in iterations, or that most recent Jordan Peele version, I think you will enjoy this one, as it was more than worth checking out. And speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out my latest video here for Twilight Zone, the movie, which at the time of this video is on paid rental. So if it sounds interesting, head on over to check it out. If you enjoyed this one but haven't seen it in a while, it's definitely worth revisiting. Also, for those familiar, I did skip over a major factor regarding this film, the fact that some consider it to be cursed, as there was an accident while filming, which resulted in the death of 3 people, actor Vic Morrow from the first segment, as well as 2 children within it. There was a very public lawsuit regarding you know, how this happened, who was to blame, and so on. There are videos that go into a lot more detail about that, but this video isn't really about that aspect. As usual, this video is simply all like my others. I like this for these reasons, maybe you will too. And with that, thanks for coming by and sticking around to the end. Coming up in just a moment is that video for Cloak and Dagger. I'm also going to try to link to another one about Twilight Zone from another channel, so if those look interesting, be sure to select those. If you enjoyed, please give me a thumbs up, and if not already subscribed, consider subscribing, and I will see you in the next one.